everyone, it's Ahmed here again from Sydney PTE Institute, bringing you another video in our web series where we tackle some of the most difficult tasks in the PTE exam. Now, we have previously done a few of the difficult tasks that students get bothered with in the speaking section, and now we are tackling some of the writing tasks within the writing section. Now, you guys should know that within the writing section, there are only two tasks that you have to do, the summarize written text and the essay. And because of that, there is a high weightage on each of these tasks. Between these, particularly the summarized written text is one task that gives the students a lot of nightmares, and for some reason students do not put in the amount of effort and practice that they need to put in to get their score, and for that reason they do not bother to practice for it at all. Well, in this video I am going to be showing you guys the exact techniques and the common errors that you can avoid to ace your summarized written text every single time. So let's get to it.
Alright, so just like the previous tasks that we have done, first off we are going to be looking at some of the common errors that you guys need to avoid to get your marks within the summarized written text task. So jumping right into it, the first thing that you guys need to avoid is to remember that you do not need to include too much information. A lot of people are dogged by this idea that they have to try and include every single detail from the paragraph into their summary, and that causes them a lot of trouble when they're trying to fit it into one sentence. So remember, you just need 2 or 3 main ideas and that will get you through every single time. After that, you should avoid using more than one full stop. This is pretty trivial because the whole task is relying on a one sentence summary. If you use more than one full stops, you will lose the marks for form within this task. Other than that, you need to understand the correct usage of the appropriate linkers and connectors within a sentence. Now, there are different linker and connector words for different situations, such as when you're comparing 2 or more ideas, when you're linking 2 or more ideas, or when you're elaborating on something further. So you need to understand the correct usage of the linker and connector that you're going to use within every single summary. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make is that they try to copy the exact same sentence word by word from the paragraph into their summary, and they just join 2 or 3 ideas together. That is a very poor strategy because the computer can clearly identify the exact sentences or phrases that you have picked up from the paragraph. So that is something you really need to avoid, and we encourage you to use your own words to explain the idea. Losing track of time. It is a time task. You have 10 minutes to come up with your summary. If you are following the strategy to the dot, and if you are not worrying about including too much information within your summaries, you will be able to finish within 10 minutes, because 10 minutes, honestly, it's a lot of time for a one sentence summary, so you don't really need to worry about that. Just keep track of it and just follow the strategy. Other than that, crossing the word limit. You have a word limit of staying between 5 and 75 words within your summarized written text task. So my best advice is that try to keep it somewhere in the middle, around 50 to 60 words. You can finish earlier if you want, but do not try to go beyond 60, because a 60-word sentence itself is a very long sentence, and with long sentences, the complexity of the grammar comes into play, and complex grammar can lose you a lot of marks. Okay, so try to keep it simple and try to keep it within the word limit. Other than that, using incorrect sentence structure. This is something that I have seen a lot of times with the students who attempt summarize written text with me in the class. A lot of times I felt that when I'm listening to their answers, their answer sounds as if they have 2 or 3 separate sentences that they have just joined together with commas or linker and connector words. You don't really need to do that. You need to make a sentence that sounds like a single sentence, that it has the right kind of flow and the smoothness of one single sentence. When we get into the example in just a little bit, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. So that covers up the common errors that go into the summarized written text. Now you need to understand the marks that you're getting, there are a total of 7 marks for every summarized written text. Where are those marks coming from? So firstly, the marks are coming from content. Content is a representation of all of the important ideas from the passage in your summary. Now, this does not mean that you have to include 100% of all the details that are mentioned in the paragraph. You just need 2 or 3 main ideas, and that will get you through this task every single time. So content only means a few ideas, not all of them. Secondly, form. Form simply means that if your summary is one sentence with only one full stop, and if it is between 5 and 75 words, you get the marks for form. Then if you have proper grammar within your sentence, there are no grammatical errors, you will get marks for grammar. And finally, you will get the marks for vocabulary if your sentence has a variety of vocabulary, if you have not copied the exact words from the passage, and if you have used synonyms or you have relied on your own personal vocabulary. So these 4 things get you the marks for summarized written text, and in total there are 7 marks that you can get from every summary that you do. Now, this is an example of a passage that we have. I've tried to come up with an example that some students have seen in their exams previously. So this is a good example of a passage that you might get within your exam. Okay. Now, if you guys want to attempt this example with me, pause the video right now. Take a look at the passage, give yourself 10 minutes to come up with a summary, and then you can follow up with the review that I give for the answer. So pause the video right now if you want to attempt it with us. All right. Now, if those of you who took 10 minutes to attempt this question, good on you. Let's see how your answer stacks up against the answer that we have prepared for this passage. Now, first off, in analyzing the passage, the thing that you need to look at is that within every passage in the Summarize Written Text task, all of the passages that you get, they will have some excessive information, some excessive examples or figures or numbers or persons that they name. These are irrelevant details. You do not require these details within a one sentence summary. So one of the best skills that you can develop when you're attempting this task is to identify the points that are needed to be included and some of the points that you can really just let go of, that you don't really need. So if I highlight some of the important points from within this passage that you need, so there you go. As I told you, from within every paragraph there is only about one core sentence that is giving you the main gist of the idea that you need to reflect within your summary. The first paragraph that we have, the topic of the overall passage that we have been given over here is about the parents' own birth order, what kind of effect that has on their child rearing abilities, about their attitude towards their own children. Now, within this whole passage, the important thing that you need to take away is that there are 2 viewpoints given. There are 2 researchers mentioned. One is Agati over here, and the other one is Laurie Silverstone, who is mentioned over here. Now, both of them have a different viewpoint about the parents' birth orders and the way it affects their child rearing abilities. Agati says that parents' own birth order can become an issue when dynamics in the family they are raising replicate the family in which they were raised. What this simply means is that Agati says that if a parent was a firstborn, their attitude towards their firstborn child will be similar. if they are middle-born or last-born, or if they were the youngest sibling in their own family, then their attitude towards their youngest child will be similar to the situations that they faced. On the other hand, Laurie Silverstone says that biases can surface no matter what your own birth position was. So Laurie Silverstone is basically giving an opposing idea to Agati, and she says that the parent's birth order does not matter, right? So two opposing ideas you have right now. And finally, in the last paragraph, you have that whether or not you subscribe to theories that birth order can affect your children's personality, ultimately we all have free will. Now, this is mentioned by Agati. What the takeaway from this is that the first researcher says that parents' birth order does play a role. The second researcher says that the birth order does not play a role. And lastly, the final statement that you have is that your birth order may or may not have an effect, but at the end of the day, every human being has free will, and you are not bound to follow the same kind of behavior that everybody else does. You have your own free will, and you can make your own behavioral patterns with your children. Apart from that, everything in between over here, in the first paragraph, in the second paragraph, in the middle paragraph over here, these are all examples that elaborate on those points that I just mentioned. So you don't need those. You don't really need to include them within your summary. You just need to string together these three main ideas and you're done. You do not need excessive information within your summary. So if you guys were able to identify these main points, again, that's kudos to you. And let's see an example of the answer that would come up with these 3 points. A 7 out of 7 answer that you can have within 50 words. And here we have it. This is within 46 words, and this says that the birth order of parents affect the upbringing as well as personality of a child, as parents tend to over-identify with the child, which may lead to either lenient or strict parenting. However, individuals can develop their own personality without being affected by the birth position. The important thing to note within this answer is that it does not mention Agati, it does not mention Laurie Silverstone, it does not mention any specific example or person that was within the passage. So you guys need to remember, all you need to get through this task is the main idea behind the whole passage. What you need is the underlying message that the passage is trying to give to you. And if you can extract that, and if you can put it together in a very simple sentence, if you look at the sentence, it does not have any complicated vocabulary, it does not have any complicated structure. It is a very simple sentence and very straightforward. If you can keep it this way, you can get 7 out of 7 marks, right? So with that, we come to points to remember for this task that you need. And the first point that you need to remember is that before you submit your answer, before the time runs out, you need to proofread your work. Remember, majority of the marks are reliant on the quality of the English that you're producing, your grammar, your vocabulary, and your word count and all of that stuff. So you need to proofread your answer before submitting it to make sure that everything is in proper order and you're not losing any unnecessary marks over there. You need to manage your time effectively. You have 10 minutes, and I wouldn't really worry about this because I honestly believe that 10 minutes is a very decent amount of time to write one sentence if you can manage your reading efficiently and if you know the strategy that you are going to follow without stressing. Time management should not be an issue. If you practice this 3 or 4 times, I think the time management is not a big issue for a lot of people. You need to have the proper connectors. I mentioned that you need to understand the proper usage of the correct linkers and connectors for depending on the situation that you have. So you need to go through that. And before you submit your answer, you need to check your grammar and your sentence structure. Again, your sentence needs to sound like a single sentence. It does not need to sound like 3 or 4 sentences that are just joined together by linkers and connectors. It needs to have a proper flow, a very smooth flow, like one single sentence. Remember to use the full stop only once, because if you use it more than once, you will lose your marks for form. And finally, the final takeaway, the biggest advice that I can give you for Summarize Written Text: keep it simple and keep it straightforward to the point. This is the biggest secret for success within this task. If you keep your ideas simple, if you just try to communicate the main message of the passage, you will always get full marks for this task.
Right. So with the example that we just did, I hope it helped clarify a lot of the doubts with summarized written text that you guys might have had. If you guys found this video useful, like it, share it with your friends who are preparing for the PTE, share it with anybody that you care about. If you have any suggestions for future videos or future topics that you want us to discuss, do comment below and let us know what you want to see next. We're going to be coming up with a lot more videos for all the different tasks, and we would really like to get some feedback from you guys about what you guys would like to see next. As far as summarized written text is concerned, if you guys need further tips on how to improve your grammar and how to improve your comprehensive ability for the passage reading, I would advise you to go to our page and watch the video on comprehensive skills that we did recently. There is a whole separate video for that, in which I shared a lot of the tips such as reading and improving your grammar through grammar exercises. It's all in that video, so do watch that and watch out for our next video. I'll see you soon.